This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
You know how sometimes the first play of the game can be a real tone setter?
Aussie.
Yeah, I basically just went with Ashton Jen Teabag.
NFL.
He's not a walking 7 for 70 as I learned last week when he went 1 for 5.
Fantasy.
I'd probably lean towards taking Henry maybe ahead of McCaffrey just because of what I've seen.
The Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Loading.
Australia's premier NFL fantasy football show is back on a Sunday for the Aussie Gridiron Network. This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. We are well into week 2. We've heard the G'day Gridiron boys yesterday. If you missed what we did on Friday, shame on you. Go back, catch it up, because we had BOWDO's tipping point, which is just fantastic. I love that we're introducing new segments. And we also went through some breakouts. We got to go through 5 questions with BOWDO as well. You call me Matty C if you like. And my favourite analyst across this wide brown land is back with us, Taylor Goodall. Good to see you, mate.
Matty, like a spit on Dak, we are so fucking back. Let's go.
Let's go. And the man who runs the tipping point segment now, BOWDO, you've just joined the cast now? Is that what's happened?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, let's get a couple more promos with my name on it, and I look forward to next week.
Can't wait for that strawberry blonde to be on the social media. It's going to be fantastic. Mate, you had a great time on Friday, and we are going to put you through some ringer today. We've got some questions from the mailbag. We're going to get into the starts of the week. And, mate, no pressure, but Jackson came in on starts of the week last week and just blew the fucking barn doors off. You're sort of prepared for what you're going to have to do to try and keep the mantle?
And I will look after Team World, don't worry.
Surely you must have questions.
Please reach out to us.
When Tate and I get asked about fantasy advice, we are not backwards about coming forwards at any stage.
Get your question read live on the show.
If you've got a mailbag question or if you're really keen to just get on the show, we'll make it work.
At Aussie NFL Fantasy on Facebook and Instagram.
Well, mate, before we get into that, we generally like to use the Sunday show as a chance to get in touch with our listeners, and they send us in a little bit of mail with what's happening in their world and maybe ways that we can help them. I'd like to dive into that mailbag and pull out some winners. You can find us to ask a question at Aussie NFL Fantasy. You can also find me at Matty Podcast and also Taylor at Taylor41. And also we've got the Aussie NFL Fantasy page on Facebook as well. Feel free to drop us a message there. These have been harvested from those locations, and I've got questions from. First one is at Gilly Gandra. At Gilly Gandrus asks, hey, surely Jamar gets right versus Jacksonville this week. Tay, is that a fair expectation?
Just quietly, it's raining cats and arseholes here at the moment. But anyway, I'll digress to the mailbag question. Look, Jamar Chase. Yeah, look, sorry to bring it to Supercoach, but I'm having a laugh at people that are selling him. Honestly, look, does he get a get-right game where he has 3 touchdowns and 180 yards? I don't know, but there is also these, times at the start of the year where the Bengals just struggle for whatever reason. They just come out of preseason not really ready, and you saw it against the Browns. Do I think there's a chance they start slow and it doesn't all come back this week against the Jags? Yes, but on paper, this Jags defense doesn't look amazing either. So I think there is an opportunity here for a get-right game for the Bengals. So, look, anyone that's got Jamar Chase shares, please don't sell. Please don't trade. Hold tight, because I think there are definitely sunnier days ahead for the Bengals offense in general. But just keep an eye on it, because honestly, even if he has another tough game this week, I'll probably still put it down to the early season struggles the Bengals normally have.
I mean, we've definitely got a body of work of seeing the Bengals have a tough time coming out of the gates. Hey, BOWDO, if you're a Jamar Chase owner, you panicked?
No, well, referring to my previous segment, I'm obviously high on Burrow having a bounce back. And if Burrow has a bounce back, so does Jamar. So, dust off the cobwebs. He didn't play much of preseason. He found his feet week 1. Don't panic, man. Big game incoming.
Fair consideration. You took Joe Burrow for 26 or more points in the tipping point segment on Friday's show for all of that segment. Go and catch that on the Friday show. But it shows you've got some faith about that Burrow is going to turn around. So to me, that also kind of feeds into Chase, right?
Yeah, bang on. If Burrow has a good game, if Chase has a good game, obviously Burrow has a good game too. So, yeah, as I said, he's due for a bounce back.
All right, Gilligandra, don't shoot yourself. Don't trade him just yet. Next one is from @MilkyMildura. So, question here is, there's a lot of people in this position. Kittle owner, help. Where do I turn? BOWDO, is there someone that you could go and find to plug in for Kittle for the next few weeks?
Yeah, so I'd probably go Happy Harold here. The Browns like to use 2 tight ends. If you don't have, I guess if your waiver wire is thin, he seems to, get some targets. He might, get you over that line for the 4 weeks that Kittle's gone. But if you see someone like him on the waiver wire, pick him up. Maybe Strange, Goddard, same deal. All you need is a fill in for a couple of weeks.
I mean, my brain went straight to Goddard, especially after you talked about him on the Friday show as well. Tay, you got any advice for Kittle owners?
Well, look, I'm one of you. Believe me, I'm not in an ivory tower looking down on you. The biggest question I had in waivers this week was my 100 shares of fucking George Kittle. I had to basically do damage control in a lot of leagues, so I am definitely with you, listener. Look, Fadden was definitely one that I targeted. I ended up with him in a few different leagues. You obviously BOWDO brought up Strange as well. One other one, and I brought it up in the breakouts, is John Johnson. He had 11 targets last week for the Saints, so he's another interesting one that if you're just sort of looking for a bit of a deeper shot, and one that you'll probably be able to get off waivers, because I don't know if everyone's still clamouring towards him. If you miss out on some of those other top guys, I think Juwan Johnson's not a bad shout. So keep an eye on him, because 11 targets, I know it's a shitty offense, but I've often talked about that tight ends is kind of like the one to have success. So I think there's an opportunity there for Juwan Johnson this year.
I don't want to mention like 1,000 tight ends, but Zach Ertz seems to be a good last resort. I personally inherited a second-year dynasty team.
Oh,
the tight end position sucked, absolutely sucked. So, dropped a couple of guys, ended up picking up Zach Ertz, and I think he'll do me, and for the next rookie draft or two until I find someone a bit more sound. But Zach Ertz is a good pickup, even if he is your guy all year. I think he's all right.
Paddy, that's the next social media post. Zach Ertz does BOWDO.
That's a visual. Okay, so our Kittle owners, you're not alone, and there's some great suggestions there. Last one here is from @Widjiwa Express. Can I take Dylan Sampson seriously? Tay, he had a lot of volume.
He did. It's an interesting one. We also don't know what's going on with Quinshon Judkins yet, so that's obviously a watch as well. Sampson looked a lot better than Ford kind of everywhere, especially in the passing game. 8 catches was insane. The snap counts were kind of even between him and Ford, so like I said earlier in the Friday show, I wouldn't be surprised if you see at least a better game out of Ford in game 2. I do think that, given the snap counts and everything, there's reason to believe that they both might sort of even up in terms of their fantasy output. But, yeah, look, I thought Sampson was quite impressive. Obviously the Browns aren't going to be able to run the ball super well. But honestly, with Flacco there and his ability to just fucking sling that thing, the fact that he was trusted enough to have 8 catches in his first game, I think it speaks volumes. So, yeah, I think honestly, in a full PPR league, I think you could definitely trust Sampson this week, because I can't see why those dump-offs wouldn't keep coming.
How about most wide receivers didn't get 8 catches last week? Should we be taking notice?
No, I agree with Tay, what he said about Judkins. You don't know what way this is going to go, and if he's going to be, Cleveland's guy. I love a good RB. You know, my bench is like an Airbnb for RBs. Sometimes they stay for 1 week. Sometimes they stay all season. So if I had him on my bench, you know, I would. He repeats that performance more than once.
That's hilarious. He's an Airbnb for running backs. Mate, they're at Baltimore. We expect they may have a tough time. A lot of passing work to go around. So,
well, he can be trusted in the passing game. You know, if you can't run it, you know, what's the obvious one is you go to the passing game, and if he's got that ability, you know, it's another option for Flacco, and you know, quick dump to him. He's going to get them targets.
Love a quick dump. We really do. I think we can trust that in PPR. That's how most leagues are played now. Is that that matters, and I think that's a really worthwhile little one to circle there. If he's not owned in your league and you don't have a ton of depth, he's definitely one worth picking up. Fellas, that's our mailbag. We'll take questions in there all the time. It's either at Matty Podcast, at Taylor41, at Aussie NFL Fantasy. All those are on Instagram. You can also go to our Facebook page and drop a message at the Aussie NFL Fantasy page there too. We'll get around to as many as we can on the show, but also we respond to direct as well. So feel free to reach out. Guys, the Sunday show is dominated by this segment. No other podcast on the island does something like this, and they certainly don't do it the way we are this year. It's time for Starts of the Week.
Born in the heart of the earth, shaped by fire, wind, and time itself, this trophy is no mere prize. It is an artifact of legend, passed through the hands of kings and conquerors, scholars and sages. Its worth measured not in gold, but in the wisdom it bestows. Now it rests with us, the chosen stewards, entrusted to guard its legacy. Only he who offers the truest insight, the boldest foresight, shall lift it high and claim his place among the immortals. This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, Starts of the Week.
And now, Tay, Starts of the Week last week, a little embarrassing for us. We kind of copped a little bit of a hiding from Jackson. Ouch. I'm still a little bit sore from that.
Yeah, and Jackson isn't the kind of person to sort of let us know in the group chat either. He's very humble and, you know, he wasn't willing to give a shit at all. And as I say that, I am obviously joking. He was willing to give us plenty of shit. And to be honest, that's kind of what we want out of our guests. We want them to let us know how shit we are as hosts and what a crap job we do in fantasy football, Matty. It's wonderful.
Mate, we got blasted. Justin Fields and Emeka Egbuka together combined for 53 points. I mean, we're thankful that he's captain Ty Tracy, who we took in the 5th round there, and that's one of the gimmicks this year is that there's a captain and there's a time you have to take them. He was the relief button because it gave us a chance to catch up. He ends up with 87 points, which I think is going to be a very good score as the year goes on. That sort of score is going to continue to hold up. But, mate, as we went into Monday's game, we knew Jackson had 87 points. You and I were on about 45 and 50, but you closed the gap significantly.
Yeah, it was a bit of a lucky draw at the end, to be honest, Matty. Said obviously the Bears were coming back, and I had Roma Dunze for the Bears as my captain, and they were in a bit of it was weird. Most of the game they were actually in front, so they weren't in a positive game script. It wasn't until obviously that amazing comeback from the Vikings and JJ McCarthy in particular, who you had as your quarterback. So I was like, well, the chances of me sort of reeling you in are very high, considering your quarterback just sort of dominated the last quarter and a half of the game. So I kind of felt like it was over. And even when Odunze scored that touchdown right at the end of the game, I still didn't think that it put me in front of you. I kind of just assumed that with McCarthy going off, that I hadn't caught you. And then all of a sudden we did some number crunching, and then you came back and realised that I'd won by a couple of points because of that Odunze touchdown. So honestly, this whole captaincy system that we've got for Starts of the Week this year, it just proves that you're never out of it, literally until the last game.
Hang on a second, mate. You didn't win fucking anything, all right, mate? You came not first, so you did not win, but you did beat me. You beat me by a little over 2 points. because Rome Dunze throws up 31 points in our system now because he scores 15.7, you double it. Weirdly, though, McCarthy, who Kev was giving me shit for, he's like, how's starts of the week going, champion? At about halftime in that game when McCarthy had like 3 points. By the end of the game, I realised he didn't bring it up again. And I think it's because he was nervous about what the scoring was going to be like. So, Tay, you ended up with 76. I ended up with 74. And I think we've all walked away from that with a bit of, okay, we need to really think about how we approach week 2. Firstly, matchups, but secondly, how do we draft a team with this format where there's a pattern to when you have to take certain players. You can't leave your quarterback to the 5th round because they can't be your captain, but also whoever you pick in the 5th round is your captain, their score's going to double. How do you navigate that? And I think each week we're going to get a little wiser on it, but also I think our guest is going to have a bigger body of work to, be able to try and cut us to pieces. And BOWDO, mate, last year we had Kev on week 1. He diced us. We had Brendo from the Astro League, who's only been to 7 of the 14 grand finals, and he diced us as well. Taylor and I found ourselves in an 0-2 hole trying to dig up. You're actually in the same position this week where you could do that to us again. How do you feel about your chances with this new draft format that we've got for the segment and the little catches in there, especially around how you got to draft and the captain doubling their points?
I will have no hesitation in beating you guys. It doesn't faze me one bit that you guys are going to look silly.
Tay, take that personally, please.
I mean, look, we've been getting fisted by the world, basically for a year and a bit, Matty, so there's nothing new.
Yeah. Well, mate, I'm not willing to stand for it, so I'm sitting down, and I'm not really keen to, have to drink the winner's piss again this week. So I've really locked in this week, and mate, it's tough after week 1, right? Because you never know less about what's going on in the league than you do going into week 1. You get some intel from week 1. And mate, I wrote down a whole bunch of players coming into this week. Now, after waivers had run, all of a sudden, a bunch of them, I scrubbed off 3 guys, had to find other people to put in there. And I imagine some of them now that I've listed, by the time games come around, some of them may even be pretty close. So it's the changes from week 1 to 2 are pretty wild. The benefit for you, BOWDO, Jackson won the segment last week, and whoever wins the segment from the previous week gets to select the draft order for this week. Really simply, the first 4 rounds are going to be a classic snake, but then the 5th round is just going to be a repeat of the 4th round. So what it means is that if you put yourself at the first pick, then you're going to get through the 1st round and the 3rd round with the first pick, the 2nd round and the 4th round with the last pick. It also means you'll be the last pick you captain. So there's this advantage that you get to pick from the whole litter to start with, but you're the last person to pick your bonus player. What are you going to do with this great weight of responsibility, mate?
Man, I'm happy to be a sandwich. I'll be the meat between this sandwich. I'll go number 2. Yeah, you can go number 1, Matty. I'm interested to see your approach, and then Taylor will be he'll get the scraps.
Why does everyone keep putting me at 3? It's bullshit.
I mean, what I like about this is there's a familiarity because this is the draft order from last week. Tay, there's kind of this bonus in knowing, okay, I've seen this movie before. Difficulty is that I didn't handle my captain very well last week, and if I just made one little tweak to the way I drafted that, then it may have changed the entire outcome of starts of the week. So I feel like I'm going this little wiser, but also sometimes when you think you're wiser, you don't always execute as well as you think you're going to. So I'm a little nervous about having the first pick. Putting yourself in the sandwich, though, I think BOWDO is really good because it's consistent. You're going to be picking the same spot every single round.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you know what? The biggest thing, I'm really interested to see if anyone gets picked again from last week, because there are a couple of, I guess, safe bets on that list. Not too many, but there's at least 1 or 2 that I wouldn't hesitate to draft.
It's really interesting. Okay. But I'm going to fire up the clock and put myself on it straight away. I kind of feel like the position that is the most obvious to go to first here is the running back, because I feel like there's variety at the other ones. And I'm going to go straight to a player who was on my team last week, who I drafted in the same position last week. It's J.K. Dobbins. He's gone from being owned in so few leagues and started in so few leagues last week to being pretty well owned everywhere, but still only started in 34% of leagues. They go to Indianapolis, who had a game last week against a really toothless Dolphins team. We know that, that as soon as they started leaning on the run, the Broncos started to look a better team, and that game all of a sudden stopped being a contest, and Dobbins scored a touchdown in it. So I'm really confident to lean on Dobbins in that. Essentially, it's the same kind of thing. It's not a super impressive team from the AFC South, even though they're on the road. I'm just going to go with the security of the running game from the Denver Broncos and take J.K. Dobbins. Welcome back to Matty's team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've got J.K. Dobbins in about 600 leagues this year, and I saw nothing to sort of dispute it. If anything, I understand why the Broncos weren't running earlier. So he definitely looks like the lead back at this stage. So, mate, I'd run that in the ground as much as I could.
My only question for you, Tay, is do you have a love heart next to his name this week like he did last week?
No, I don't know. For some reason, he was more clear to me last week than this week, which is weird because you saw the utilisation from him already. So it was almost like confirmation bias for me. But there was a few guys in that position I didn't mind. So I didn't have him specifically, but he was definitely near the top of my list, put it that way.
Love it. Hey, BOWDO, you're on the clock, mate, and you've got everybody in the whole world who's owned and started in less than 50% of leagues, except for J.K. Dobbins. Where do you go?
I too am going to go RB.
I've got a feeling I know who it is.
I don't know. I don't think you'll get this one. I'm going to go Jalen Warren.
Ooh, not who I thought.
He's on the cusp of almost being started by 50% of leagues. I just think the matchup, we saw the Seattle play San Francisco last week. They didn't put up much of a fight against the run game. With Jalen Warren being the obvious RB1 there, I think he'll get that volume close to the line, not close to the line. I think he'll put up some good numbers.
Wow, 2 road running backs in a row. Super interesting because I think this week going in, we weren't so sure how that backfield was going to shake out. So it's interesting to see where the rubber met the road in a game where there were a lot of points. All right, so Jalen Warren locked in Seattle. Tay, where are you going?
I'll be honest. There's definitely some people because I've been sort of charging my phone. It's been hard to sort of have a look to see what's been the updated percentages, but there's definitely some guys on my list that have fallen out. So it's definitely not amazing. There was definitely one I was going to take. He's still technically under 50, but I think with the trajectory of his percentage, I'm probably just going to leave it. I might just say it because it's stupid for me not to. I was looking at Travis Etienne.
Yeah, I scrubbed him because he was at 49%, an hour before he came to air. He was trending significantly up. I scrubbed him.
That's fine. All right. Interesting. Yeah, it just makes things super interesting, right?
You can't rush for 143 yards and then not get picked up by everyone, I guess. I think that's the rule.
I don't think it's picked up. I think he was in every league. It's just more the people are starting him this week instead of last week. All right, first off, again, it's just so much gameplay between waiting and what position for your captain in the last round. Do you double up on the same position and then having to essentially lock yourself into the other position for the captain? I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and split. Again, there's some other percentages I haven't had a chance to check. I don't think this guy will burst, but he did have a very good week 1. I was going to take Javonte against the Giants.
I think he's clear.
Yeah, I think he's good.
He's 42 now. I think that's clear.
Okay. So he's probably going to trend decently up because of the 2-touchdown game, but yeah, I figured he was still at least iffy enough. But yeah, I guess it's hard. If he's around 40, it's probably not too bad. But so I'm going to I'll go with Javonte as my first.
Yeah, BOWDO, you're comfortable with that? I'm completely comfortable with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not going to argue on that. He was on my watch list, so I do. As you know, I don't like Cowboys players, but against the Giants. When it comes to fantasy, that's a good pickup.
Hard to ignore that volume as well. All right, Tay, you're on the swing. What you got?
Again, this is another one. I couldn't fathom why his percentage was still so low this morning. But again, I think it is one that might trend up. But I don't know how high it'll trend up. I was going to take Fields against the Bills.
Yes. This morning I had him at 26. This evening I had him at 26. He started at 18 last week. So I think he's clear.
So low still. Like, I really thought things might change. I just thought that I guess the problem is the people that have taken him might have had him as like their bench quarterback, and they've probably got an option they still don't hate, and they might not be quite believing it enough. But I just think that matchup against the Bills is too awesome. I do feel like quarterback's pretty deep, so I didn't have to take it here, but I felt like he was the pick of the bunch.
Yeah. I had him very high on my list as well, Tay. And at 26%, I think there's zero chance he goes over 50 between now and the start of the week. I think he's still a very iffy choice because people are very rock solid on at least 8 quarterbacks. And that then feels kind of a luxury, right? So unless you're in a position where he was the first quarterback you took because you waited a bit, then, yeah, you probably have an option you feel a little bit more confident in. Will he score as many points as Justin Fields? Well, maybe not, because we just saw Justin Fields drop 29 points in standard sleeper scoring last week. So, it shows the ceiling is high, but this is the thing. What's the trustability like? Yeah, mate, I don't have any concerns around either his ownership or why you've selected him. I just think it's a really good bet.
The matchup as well. It's not just Fields from week one. I just don't see, like I said, this Bills team is just one of these defenses that I'm kind of targeting based off week one. So, yeah, it's a mix of like what I saw from Fields in week one and the matchup together. I just felt like it was a bit of a perfect storm.
Yeah, I mean, they just had Lamar score 29 points on him as well. So, yeah, that all adds up. It puts BOWDO back on the clock, mate. And you've got Jalen Warren versus Seattle. Where are you going next, mate?
Well, I think we're going to stay in that same game, the Bills and the Jets. I'm going to go Keenan Coleman. He's, I was quite surprised with his ownership and starts based off week number 1. But I think this will be another high-scoring game. He seems to be a trusted wide receiver for Josh Allen. So, let's keep that train rolling.
God, 11 targets, 8 receptions. He's only 25% started, and I think the path for him to get to 50 is way too steep. I just don't think there's any chance. He's a terrific pick. Where else can you find 11 targets just laying around?
Yeah, end of the year, if the Bills' offense keeps going the way they're going, he'll be someone's wide receiver 1 for sure.
It's more to me about their defense. Honestly, I know I keep bringing that up, but the problem I've had with the Bills' receivers in the past is their defense has been good. So they've had all these game scripts where they're in front, so they haven't needed to pass the entire game. That's why I was so out on Amari Cooper last year when he went to the Bills, because I was just like, they don't need to pass that much in this team. They've run the fuck out of it. James Cook and Josh Allen just run. And they just sort of like run out games in the second half. Whereas if their defense is this bad, they've got
to throw the ball.
The ceiling is for Josh Allen and honestly Keon Coleman in the wide receiver position, because it means more passing yards for them this year.
Me testing out how this all works. I'm taking my flex straight away.
Yeah,
taking a second running back, and that running back is going to be Kareem Hunt in that game against Philadelphia, only because I think there's like his snap percentage was high enough for me, but I just think he's going to be the goal line guy, and they won't have Pacheco on around the goal line. I'm just going to go for the vulture score. I'm putting him in there because he's going to have the goal line. I just want a firm score there, and I imagine that when the goal line comes around, it's going to be Kareem Hunt. But it allows me to use my double on another player, on either the wide receiver or the tight end, and I've got plans. You'll see what's coming.
Beautiful.
I'm then going to come back and take my quarterback Do you know that Dak Prescott has fallen to 43%
Yeah,
start?
yeah, he's on my list too. But the only reason I thought, you know what, I'll go quarterback and not target Dak is because I took Javonte, and I kind of didn't want to do that stack.
I don't have that problem. I'm taking Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Honestly, for anyone that watched that game and didn't just look at the fantasy scores, Dak looked awesome. Like, it was so frustrating. Like Dak is literally the quarterback I have the most shares of in fantasy this year, and it was just so shit because he played so well, and then he finished on like 7.8 fantasy points, and I was like, this is like the biggest like difference between fantasy football and real football I've ever seen. Like, he looks great, and he just was like 170 yards, and you know, both touchdowns vultured by fucking Javonte. Like, it just. Yeah, it was a tough one to fantasy, but I felt like on eye test he actually looked amazing.
And I use this to my advantage. I traded away Javonte in a league where it's hard to get running backs because I picked him up as like my third or fourth running back or whatever. And I turned it into a trade where I got CeeDee Lamb back. So to me, I'm like, I feel like I win this. And that remains to be seen. But it's just that, yeah, Dak looks great. And people are running away from him because the points weren't there, even though the process was there. So I'm 100%. I'm so happy with the fact that he came back to me. Now puts BOWDO back on, who's got Jaden Warren and Keon Coleman. What are you doing now, mate? We've got third round. You still need a quarterback, a tight end, and if you want to, you can go ahead and take a flex at any stage too now.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to use a flex here. According to the stats, you know, I know you mentioned it earlier, but Travis Etienne is at 49%. He's pulled away from that. Is he fair?
Well, yeah, that's why I brought him up before, because I was going to take him.
Is he fair game?
Well, he's not. Well, he can't be now because I got it ruled out when I was picking. But the whole idea is that because his trend's so high, it's hard to imagine Harry doesn't possibly 50% from tomorrow onwards. Like, because he basically went from like, what was it this morning, like 30 or something, now to up to 49. It's like there's almost no chance he's not over 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I reckon by the time USA wakes up on Thursday, that's over.
Yeah, he's someone's RB1 for sure. All right, well, that's cool. I've got someone else in mind. You will probably be scratching your head going, what the fuck? But let's go that Jackery Krosky Merritt.
That's literally who I have him at the top of my list, and it's who I thought you were going to take first.
I'll use the flex position for old Jackery.
He's only starting 20%, and I think that number will move, but I just don't think from that number it can move high enough.
Nah.
My concern is he only had 10 carries, and it's a small sample size. I know he had all the yards, and his snap count was okay. I just felt like the volume was enough to make me nervous, and that he'll have played on the Friday where we're airing on Sunday, and I don't expect everyone to do this, but I kind of have this rule where I just rule out Thursday Night Football guys anyway.
That's exactly what I was wondering. But I'm fine with him taking him. That's fine.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me at all.
I'm down with it.
Bade Rodriguez, a healthy scratch. And they were just like, let's give Bill this RB2 role straight up. And then Austin Eckler came up lame after last game too and has got a questionable tag. So imagine if like he's not there either, and then all of a sudden it's just Bill's backfield. Then I think you might actually see more than 10 carries if that happens. So even if it's just Eckler and him, I still think there's good opportunity for him. I don't love the matchup against the Packers. Like, that is a very good defense, but I don't know. I do feel like they're going to need to try and run the ball to sort of, you know, stop that pass rush. So yeah, I actually liked him. I had him near the top of my list.
That Green Bay defense looks really damn good too, which kind of also made me a little worried. But hey, Tay, this puts you on the clock, mate. You got Fields versus Buffalo. You got Javonte. Where are you headed next? You've got receivers and tight ends and flexes to pick.
Yes, I think I'm just going to go ahead and take my boy Cedric Tillman.
Double it up. Was it last? You picked him last week as well?
I took him last week to try and keep him away from Tay.
What's his
particular reason? I've got Tillman right now at 8%.
Okay, Jesus, all right. I figured it wasn't at 50. I was just checking because I saw him at about that this morning. So obviously not much has changed. But Yeah, I guess like where you drafted him is so low, you've probably got bet options that people see as better, so it's not going to change yet. But I love him when Flacco's there. I've brought him up. I even talked about him as a pod on Buddy Supercoach show. I don't know. There's something about him. I honestly think that people forget how much he was breaking out with Jameis last year before he got injured, and everyone remembers Judy's games, and they don't remember Cedric Tillman's. And he's come in healthy this year. I really like him. I know there's a lot of, I guess, like even with Flacco throwing for 300 yards, there's a lot of guys that can catch them, but I don't know. Just Cedric Tillman seems to be really, really trusted in that offense.
Yeah, I mean, last week when I took him at 4%, I was kind of like, am I a genius or am I a moron? And it turns out it worked out fine because he had a really good day out. And there was part of me that was gaming this a little bit to be like, okay, if it gets around to a spot where I am then taking my wide receiver in the last round, Tillman may be available because he's so lowly started. He may be available as my captain in the last round. And it's kind of tripped over because now you've taken him as just the second wide receiver off the board in this draft. But I mean, he wasn't completely my plan, but he was definitely someone I had really factored in. And I'm like, this could end up being someone I could rely on depending on where you guys went with wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm glad because that was also going through my mind. It was like, could I let him slip through here and hope that he might have been my captain? Because I actually have a lot of confidence, like probably more than most people. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to lock him up here, maybe look elsewhere for, something in the captain range later. But yeah, so I'm sort of happy that you said that because it makes me feel like if I'd left him there, you would have taken him. So although if you're hoping he was the captain, then you would have had to have waited till past me anyway. So technically,
till the last pick, yeah. But it's because of the 8% thing that I'm like, there's a chance.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take my tight end here. There's a lot of guys on this list. Like I like a lot of guys, and funnily enough, like I feel like we spoke about 3-4 guys like between the two episodes. I'm actually thinking I'm going to pick out someone different. I'm going to take Kyle Pitts against the Vikings.
Mate, he was great for me last week, and you know how much I've been in on Pitts.
Well, I don't know. It's just I trust Penix in the passing game at least. Like I've talked about him being like a mini Jameis. Like I really just think he's going to throw that thing around. And there's even chat, obviously, that London could miss. Like whether London's there or not, I still don't mind the Pitts play. But I'm like, if Drake London's not there either, Darnell Mooney's still coming back. It's like that's just like taking so many different options away. It's like they're going to have to use Pitts basically in like a higher volume role, I believe, if those guys are out. So I don't know. I just trust this passing offense this year. I feel like there's a lot to go around, and Minnesota is generally a lot easier to pass on than they are to run on. So I do wonder if this is going to be a high yardage passing game for Penix.
Well, he's definitely shown he's not scared to pass it, right, Bowdo?
No, I was, well, it's not my turn yet, but I was going to bring up Penix, but I'll wait till...
you're on the clock now, mate. You can bring up Penix if you want to. You're the turn after Taylor. Go nuts.
Well, there you go. He was. It was going to be my pick for my quarterback, Penix. So, based off last week, he didn't score a lot of touchdowns. It was only like one and a rushing one, but just the amount of attempts that he potentially has. So more attempts you got, obviously more opportunities for yardage, more touchdowns. I think he's a good candidate for a breakout.
Threw for about 300 yards. He threw 42 times. He had a touchdown, rushed a touchdown, and he was only sacked once. So, there's a lot of good indicators there. He lost a fumble, which is not great, but that's traditionally not a sticky stat. That's kind of something that kind of fluky. But the other things I think you can count on that he's going to pass a lot. They're confident with him passing. He only rushed 6 times and he avoided major contact and he scored a touchdown. So I think there's a lot of things about Penix that make him a really worthwhile. If I need you for a weak quarterback, that this is what this segment is. So I love the pick. I just love the pick, and at 9% started today. It's almost like a pod, right?
Yeah, 100%. I had a lot of quarterbacks I liked this week, to be honest. It was the only reason I went Fields, like I mentioned, is I just felt like he sort of stood out a bit over some of the other ones. But I like Dak as well. I know a lot, and Penix was in there because I just mentioned with Kyle Pitts, I think there's a chance he has to throw a lot in this game. So, the way that we score, even if he throws an intercept or two, they're only -1. And I do think there's a chance that they could be behind in this game, and he needs to sort of, hurry up and have a good game script. So I do like the pick.
This is so great because now it puts me on the clock and I've got a wide receiver and a tight end to go. It's tricky because I kind of like 2 tight ends, and would have been great if I had my tight end and flex to go. The tight end I'm going to take, though, there's one who's so much more owned, who I just kind of expect BOWDO to take on the way back, who I'd really love to take. But I'm going to go and stick my neck out for Juwan Johnson because he did see so many targets last week in a game where New Orleans did keep pace for a while. They weren't forced to pass all the time, but they had to have some urgency around their offense. I think they're going to have the same again this week against San Francisco. And it just kind of shows to me Rattler's kind of looking towards the middle of field, and that's kind of where Juwan eats. A lot of targets, can't ignore it. I'm taking him.
Yeah, I've brought him up multiple times on these episodes, to be honest. I like it. 11 targets, insane. So I can't see why that stops.
2% started. Oh my gosh, if you're a Kittle owner, go just put Juwan Johnson in because you could do worse. This puts Taylor on the clock to start the last round. So our teams at the moment, Taylor, you've got Fields, Javonte Williams, Cedric Tillman, Kyle Pitts. So you're taking a flex. BOWDO's last round, he has to take a tight end, and my last round, I have to take a wide receiver. These are our captains. Tay, last week, you captained Rome Odunze, and he scored 31 total points. He was the best captain of the week because he had 15.7 standard scoring points, and you double it. Can you repeat the magic?
Yeah, I've got a couple of guys I'm interested in this week, but I sort of touched on this guy being a guy that I kind of saw as like the top waiver pickup this week. I just think he's got a pretty decent mind meld returning back to his old team with his old quarterback. So I'm going to take Keenan Allen up against the Raiders, 11th against wide receiver last year. I just trust it, honestly. I do think that between him and Lane McConkey, I know, Quentin Johnson is sort of emerging and has the chance to sort of, have sort of spike weeks with the touchdowns and stuff. But I just think Keenan Allen's going to get a certain amount of volume every single week, honestly. I just think he's hitting the ground running with this team. And, I just trust it. So, look, I don't see it as like a huge upside play, but I just think it's going to be one of these ones I can see between 5 to 8 catches, and it's just going to give me a baseline.
There's also you taking a wide receiver on a Monday night game so you can draw it out.
Absolutely. Do it again.
Bastard. BOWDO, you definitely need a tight end here to wrap out your team, but you're going to get double points for this guy. Who are you taking?
As I talked up, Dallas got it earlier. So, you saw it, fly, Eagles fly. Let's do it. I predicted 17 points, so let's increase that number.
I fucking hope your 17 points comes off now because I had considered taking him when I took Juwan Johnson. I'm like, nah, BOWDO's going to take him. And I could take him too, but I don't know. There's kind of this wonderful poetry when you get to come on, you get the host tipping point, and now you got it as your starts of the week to you.
Here's the deal. If I get this, I'll take over both segments. How about that?
Trey, can you imagine that, having a resident starts of the week guest?
Oh, mate, I love it. Get him back. Even if he loses, let him have it.
Well, man, this has just added another layer of stress this week. I'm going to be checking my fantasy, my tip and comp, and now my starts of the week. So thank you.
Yeah. You've done this to yourself, by the way. So well done.
Self-inflicted.
I mean, what's in your favour here is it's not like there's a ton to go grey. It's just down in the chin, mate. So hopefully you keep all that beautiful strawberry blonde doesn't turn grey on you, mate.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm also taking my captain here, and I'm going to say same game, BOWDO. I'm saying same game. Yeah. I want a piece of this Philadelphia, Kansas City, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with Hollywood because
Oh, good one.
They've lost Rice for all those weeks. They've now lost Worthy, and he just kind of looks like the one guy who fits the tenor of the segment. You've got to be owned in and start in less than 50% of leagues. He's currently started in 11%. It's up from 2%, so he's up, but there is just no way he's shattering the 50%, and the targets are there.
Yep, he was on my list.
Let's read these teams out. This is going to be great, and I'm looking forward to making this because there's going to be guys with the captain C above them who aren't just our flexes. Last week, I think we were all a bit, how does this segment work? This week, I love that there's been some chins out, you know? We're all having a bit of a swing now.
Yeah.
I picked first. I've got Dak Prescott, J.K. Dobbins, now Hollywood Brown as my wide receiver and captain, Juwan Johnson in my tight end, and Kareem Hunt for the short arrow touchdowns in the same game as Hollywood. BOWDO, your team. Penix versus Minnesota, Jaylen Warren versus Seattle, Keon Coleman versus the New York Jets, Dallas Goedert against the Kansas City Chiefs, and your captain. And then Bill, old Krosky Merritt, Green Bay as your flex. Tay, you got Justin Fields versus Buffalo, Javonte Williams as well versus the New York Giants, Cedric Tillman at Baltimore, Kyle Pitts versus Minnesota, and Keenan Allen, because you have to have a Monday night captain. That's the way you roll. Mate, how do you feel about your team, BOWDO? You reckon you're in with a shot at keeping the world flag flying high?
Well, the world reamed you guys last week. I don't really want the world to ream me of my shit drafting skills. So we'll see how we go. Interesting choice of captain, I will say. But man, I'm just a sucker for an Eagles player, man.
Mate, he's got God in his name. Goddard, God, right?
In Goddard we trust.
Oh, I was just singing, I'm just a sucker for pain, because that's what I do.
Tate, you ended up with 76 points. You were within sort of 10-odd points of Jackson's score last week. How are you feeling about your team?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with how it turned out. Obviously, some running backs and stuff sort of went before me, but, you know, I had a pretty decent list. Obviously, some ones sort of fell apart that, like, you know, obviously jumped up around 50% that we had to rule out. Even, like, my boy Jacoby Myers was under this morning. I had a look. All of a sudden, he's at 53, so I had to take him off the list. But, in the end, I was pretty happy if it turned out. I was pretty keen on, like, looking at someone like Keenan Allen as a bit of a, like, sort of rock-steady captain at the end. So I was pretty happy with the rest of the guys I got, mate. Justin Fields, I think he's the kind of guy that can break this segment open like we saw last week. So amazing matchup against the Bills. Honestly, I looked at a guy like Drake May, and I guarantee that's who Kev's going to take in the scraps.
100%.
But in the end, I had a bit more confidence in Fields.
I'm looking forward to his scraps team because he was playing with fire a bit last week with guys who wound up over 50%. And he also doesn't have the problem we've got where you have to sequentially wait to choose your captain. He can just pick whoever he wants as his captain in a way. So his scraps team he also scored 87. Let's throw it out there. But yeah, he definitely has some dynamics that are different to us. The disadvantage he has is that he can't choose anyone we've picked. So I send it to him after we air, and he gets to pick from there. So he's going to have his work cut out for him. I kind of wished I got Keenan Allen as my captain, but Tay, well played. And it meant that I've got Hollywood and Kareem Hunt in the same game, but I'm not too concerned. Again, this is one of those things where I don't know that there's a lot of upside being capped if you've got a player who you can double the points of. So not too concerned. Hey, fellas, we've made it to the end of the Sunday show as well. BOWDO, mate, you've upped your leagues now. You're in about 50 leagues compared to you were in like 4 last year. You're now in like 10 plus. Good luck, mate. All the very best with those ongoing notifications. Looking forward to having you back next week for BOWDO's catchphrase, mate.
I'll see you then.
We're going to get out of here. We'll see you all after week 2 is done. Good luck to all you fantasy managers, especially those guys who are up against me in the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show red and green leagues. Cannot wait to kick some ass in those leagues. And Astro League as well. I've got a little bit of a date circled in the Astro League where I put up a very unconvincing score but managed to win my week last week. Tay, you're a bit the same. You didn't have a wowing score, but you won last week. We'll see you all next week. Tay, good luck on week 2.
Thanks, mate. Not you too. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers. All the best, BOWDO. See you soon, mate. Hooroo.
Cheers, bro. See ya.
The Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Thanks to the Aussie Gridiron Network, Australia's home for NFL and Australian gridiron content. Discover everything the network has to offer, including G'day Gridiron, Pastry Press, NFL, and Aussie Gridiron Today. Buy merch and win free stuff. Visit the mothership at linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. Hooroo!